Oh, hey girl, what's going on? Are you just laying in your bed on your phone? Get up, bitch! Stop being lazy! Get out of your bed! Put on makeup! Go out! Go be a whore! Go be a slut! You're only gonna be this young once! You're only gonna be this hot once! No, I'm definitely gonna get hotter. 3 rules! Manifest, manipulate, medicate! It's simple! Go do it! Now!
Only a woman could make a video like this. What you're seeing right now, that is a uniquely female behavior. She's making awful life choices. She's acting self-destructive and she's actively shaming other women for not joining her. She's trying to recruit women to join her in her choices. And that's what women do. What's the typical behavior of a man who is engaging in some self-destructive actions? It's to isolate himself out of shame. If he's feeling depressed or if he's spiraling into some addictive behavior, gambling, drugs, pornography, video games, whatever it might be, and he's feeling really, really awful about himself, he tries to keep it a secret. He removes himself from the world. As a man watching this video, you probably know what I'm talking about. There's probably been a period in your life where you are feeling really bad about yourself and the choices you're making, and you kind of withdraw. You stop speaking to people. You isolate yourself. Women are different. There are a few exceptions, of course. Some women do isolate themselves, but it's a more typical tendency when women are engaged in that kind of behavior to reach out, to almost make themselves more social. That decision to bond over terrible choices that you're making with other women, that seems completely baffling to us men because that's not how we would handle it. When things are going bad for us, the idea of becoming more social just seems insane. But what you need to understand is that men and women are wired very differently. Over hundreds of thousands of years, men and women have been subjected to very different pressures, especially social pressures during our evolution. As men, that feeling of failure can be so overwhelming because deep down, we sense that our worth as a man is judged by our competency. And so the instinct can be to isolate, to separate yourself, to try and sort yourself out so you can come back into the tribe with your head held high, like I conquered it, I'm good, I'm back. It's actually not a good instinct. I really wish men could overcome this, but it takes a lot of courage in order to actually reach out for help. I have a lot of admiration for the guys who reach out to me on Hey Hero and actually say, look, I'm struggling, I'm confused, I need your help, Alexander, because they're fighting against those instincts that tell them to, keep it to themselves, to not share it with anybody, to stay quiet. You have to display a lot of courage to overcome a certain amount of shame to actually reach out to another man and say, hey, I'm struggling, I'm failing, I need some help. But I really admire men who are able to do that because it shows a commitment to improving. Because obviously you can't change where you're at in life until you first accept where you're at in life. And so if you're doing really badly, you're making terrible choices, you're failing, the first step is to be like, all right, this is not good enough. I'm not doing well. It's actually making that sense of failure, that shame work for you, being like, okay, I'm going to use this awful emotion to actually kickstart me into gear so that I can finally get on top of my stuff. But that's men. That's how men deal with it. Women have a different coping mechanism, okay, that doesn't necessarily involve changing or improving or even really accepting that what they're doing is bad. They take those shameful feelings and instead of using it as a motivation to better themselves, they just disperse that shame and try and recruit other women to feel that same thing with them, because if enough women are feeling that same emotion, then they're good, they're safe. In fact, they can avoid feeling it acutely at all. In the mind of a woman, a terrible choice doesn't seem quite so terrible if there are lots of other women also making that terrible choice. And then, like magic, that feeling of shame, that feeling of guilt, that feeling of failure starts to go away. Now, all humans, both men and women, are social creatures, right? Like we do pay attention to the opinions and the emotions and the perspectives of other people, and then we adjust ourselves accordingly. That's just a human experience. But women are especially like that, right? They take this social conformity to what seems like to men a crazy degree. So if a man and woman meet each other at a club and they're both deciding whether or not to go home with the other person and have like a one-night stand, well, what are the criteria that each person's going to use to make that decision? For a man, it's going to be like, well, what am I in the mood for? What's the quality of this girl? All the basic considerations, and the woman is going to have those as well, but she's going to have an additional consideration, which is, what would my friends think? Or what are my friends doing right now? Back in the early 2000s, the pickup artists discovered this phenomenon, which was that women are much more likely to sleep with a man after just meeting him if all of her friends are doing the same. Essentially, if you've got one group of friends who hooking up with another group of friends, then suddenly it's all fine. Once they see that other members of the group are engaging in that behavior, it unlocks some kind of psychological permission slip for women to do the same. But it's actually even worse than that, because it sometimes goes beyond just permission and becomes a pressure. If all the girls in a friends group are acting a certain way, making certain destructive life choices, and one of the girls in that group decides not to go along with that, then she's going to be subject to a lot of viciousness from the rest of the girls. They're going to exclude her, they're going to bully her, they're going to accuse her of being stuck up, of thinking that she's better than everybody else. Women exert a massive amount of pressure on their female friends to conform to their choices, especially when those choices are bad and destructive. I know it sounds strange, but almost the worse that a woman is behaving, the more desperate she is to recruit other women to do the same. That's how it works. Think back to high school and you've got girls in their little friendship groups, and remember the viciousness with which women can turn on one of their friends. And of course, it often starts with just a personal tiff between two members, but it's not enough for that one girl just to be mean to the other girl. No, she needs to recruit all of her female friends to pile on, to collectively insult her, for them all to engage in this behavior so as to disperse and collectivize the guilt. And that experience is absolutely terrifying for the girl who's getting bullied, because remember, women have been wired to pay very close attention to their social bonds. Evolution gave them that instinct very strongly because it related massively to their ability to survive. You needed to have the sisterhood on your side. These are the women who help you out, who you spend all your time with, you help raise each other's children. And so the fear of being bullied or being ostracized and isolated is absolutely terrifying for women. And so when given the choice between making a moral, principled stand and risking being antisocial with all their friends, or just making a destructive choice and going along with a friends group, lots of women choose the latter. Women don't approach failure and shame in the same way that a man does. He feels terrible about himself. He doesn't want to infect other people. He just isolates himself and feels really lonely and depressed. But women, they become intensely social. They're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this emotion, so I'm going to reach out to my sisters. That's why you have women like this going on TikTok screaming at other women, go be a whore, go be promiscuous, be like me, let's all be in this together. She needs that feeling of safety, that feeling of protection that comes from being part of the herd, part of the group. What I'm about to say next might sound extraordinary or unbelievable to the minds of most men, but hear me out. I want you to understand that the feeling of safety that women get by being part of the group is so strong that she will actually feel safer doing a objectively dangerous activity, an objectively harmful activity, and as long as all the other women are doing it, than if she was to be by herself, not participating in that activity. Promiscuity is not good for women. Sleeping around, having casual sex, that is harmful to women. But if a woman has got a friendship circle and all of her friends are engaging in that kind of behavior, she's going to feel safer going along with that self-destructive choice than she would be in ostracizing herself from the group and not participating. One of the reasons why you need to pay very close attention to the company that your girlfriend keeps. Now, women do grow out of this to a certain extent. As they get older, they become more confident in themselves, more independent in their decision making. They don't need the safety or the protection of a group of female friends so much. They know who they are, which is one of the reasons why dating looks so different for menopausal women as it does for women in their 20s. Why that changes and what it looks like now is actually the topic of my latest Patreon video. You can check that out there if you want to see that. But for young women, the pressure of social conformity is so strong that it short circuits her brain. And that's why I'm not judging this woman. I feel sorry for her. The lifestyle that she's screaming about that every woman should be partaking in is not an empowering choice. There's a high likelihood that her behavior is caused by a low self-esteem or something, and she falsely believes that being promiscuous is going to fix that, but of course it's not. And deep down, she probably knows that she's not making the best choices, which is why she's not speaking calmly. She's screaming into the camera. She's angry. If she was somebody who was genuinely happy with her individual choices, then she'd speak calmly, like, hey, I see a bunch of women who are happy and content in their relationships, or women who are single, figuring their stuff out, just being dignified, valuing their chastity, and I completely respect that. I myself, I'm going down a different path. I'm doing a lot of experimentation. I'm seeing lots of guys. I'm acting promiscuous. It's what's right for me, but it might not be right for you. A woman who speaks like that, you might be like, okay, yeah, she does seem quite comfortable in her choices, but no, this screaming into social media, trying to shame women into acting the same way that you are, so you've got this safety of the herd while you're making these destructive choices. This is obviously somebody who's not happy or content or calm. She's panicking, and that's why she's trying to get other women to make the same choices that she is so that she can reassure herself that she's not doing anything wrong. That's what I'm trying to explain, is that women recruit other women, which is why you need to pay very close attention if one of your girlfriend's friends suddenly starts changing in her behavior. Like, she was a sweet girl, very high quality, but let's say something traumatic happens, she gets broken up with, cheated on, something like that, and then she starts down this destructive path. You need to watch that. She's making bad choices, she's sleeping around, she's getting drunk a lot. She's probably going to be whispering in your girlfriend's ear, trying to get her to go along with that. Too many guys are complacent about this sort of stuff. They think, my girlfriend's smart, she'd never fall for that kind of thing, she knows who she is. Look, you may be right, but please do not underestimate the pressure that women feel to get along with their friends. They have very strong instincts for social conformity. There is a long list of men who were in happy relationships with their girlfriend until their girlfriend's best friend broke up with their boyfriend, got dumped, got divorced or something like that, and started living a completely different lifestyle. And eventually their girlfriend breaks up with him because she wants to be with her best friend. She feels like that's the right thing to do. That's being loyal. I know that it seems unbelievable. Like, as a man, you're thinking this makes no sense. This is crazy. Nobody would ever do this. Surely. Well, I bet right now in the comment section, there's probably guys sharing their stories. They're happily married, but their wife's best friend gets divorced. It's really ugly. It's really messy. And then suddenly that divorced friend starts whispering in his wife's ear. Like, I don't think he appreciates you. He doesn't treat you right. Divorced life is so much fun. I'm having the best time of my life. You should come out more. You should join me. You should ditch that dead weight. I'm telling you, it happens. Watch out. Ignore this at your own peril. Women are very vulnerable to social contagion. And if you want to see that theory work out in practice, check out my course. You'll see real women, real stories, and it'll serve as a very cautionary tale. As men, you have to understand that there's a particular sting to the accusation when it's received by a woman that doesn't really affect men. And that's, why do you think you're better than me? Women cannot stand that. If one of their close friends was to level that accusation at them, it would hurt a lot and it would affect the way that they behave. Us men are different. We're a lot more comfortable just ranking each other, existing in a hierarchy. That's what happens in our careers, in our sports teams. The captain of the sports team or the coach or whatever, he has a certain authority with his experience and his talent. And as men, we're okay just deferring to that. Like, yes, some men are better. I don't know anything about car engines. I don't know anything about software coding. You listening to me right now, you watching this video, you probably know more about so much stuff than me. And if we were to meet and you were to talk about the things that you're interested in, the things that you know a lot about, I'd be the student and I'd be like, well, you're superior to me. I'm learning from you. I happen to know a lot about relationships and female psychology. And so I started a YouTube channel about it and you're listening to me. And I'm sure you don't have a problem right now accepting that, yeah, Alexander probably knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. There's a mutual respect that's flowing back and forth, and we don't need some facade of equality pretending that we're all equal, we all know the same. It's like, no, we exist as men in something of a hierarchy in all these areas, and it serves a purpose. We're learning from each other. This is good. But women are different. That sense of a hierarchy seems dangerous. It can be a source of tension and social unease, and that really scares women. That's why the woman making terrible choices wants to drag all the women down with her so that they're all on the same playing field. And most concerningly, that's why good women allow themselves to get dragged down, because they don't want to appear to be like stuck up or thinking that they're better than all the other women. The social instincts that women have just tell them that everything's going to be safer with their friendships, with their social bonds, if everybody is on the same level. But regrettably, too often that means sinking to the lowest common denominator.